Look, we're not size queens.
No.
You know, sometimes.
Smaller is better.
Yeah, smaller is better, you know?
What's up, everybody? I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
We are the Brothers Murph, and yes, today we are talking about 10 smaller versions of games that we think do it better than what we would call like their parent games. These are games that are based on another game.
Yeah, this is something that happens a lot in board games where there will be a game, and then it's kind of like a spin-off, like a TV show, but there will then be a smaller version, like a dice version of the game, or a card version of the game, or just like a smaller version. There's a whole big thing where it was a bunch of different roll and rights versions of games. Right now, we're in the dual phase of board games, where
two-player versions.
Every game has a the dual version. So there's tons of these kinds of games, and a lot of them are really, really good. Some of them even better, in our opinion, at least, than the original.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes like the things that change, maybe create some interesting stuff that didn't quite click with us in the parent game. So there's going to be 10 versions that we think do it better. And this top 10 is sponsored by Clash Corgis. We'll be talking about them a little bit later. So let's get right into number 10.
Before we do that, though, there are sometimes some games that don't do it better, and that list is over on our Patreon. So if you check out that one, some of it didn't work out that well. Let's get number 10.
Hey, Small Mike here, just reminding you that it might seem like a small gesture to subscribe, but it makes a big difference to little old me over here. Make sure you click that giant button, because I'm small, so it's big to me. This box is huge. What's that cowboy doing? He's big.
All right, so number 10 is going to be a game called Trails.
Yeah.
This is a small little kind of version of Parks.
Yes.
Where you're going hiking and kind of collecting resources and stuff like that.
Yeah, it kind of takes it just simplifies everything. So in Parks, you're kind of walking along a trail, gaining resources, and you're visiting these parks. You turn all these resources to all these different kinds of stuff.
The national parks.
Yeah, the national parks, specifically. And in Trails kind of is just like the trail for the most part. And you're basically going to the end of the trail, then going back, and then going to the end of the trail, going back. You're still gaining resources. You're still doing things like that. You're still getting like merit badges now as opposed to like...
Yeah, you're still ultimately gathering resources and then turning them in to collect these cards.
But it's just streamlined and smaller. And personally, I've never been a massive fan of the game Parks. The older edition, the newer edition, we played them both. They're both fine, but like I've never been I feel like I've liked them a lot less than people usually do.
Sure.
And so when we played Trails, I was like, okay, great. This is just kind of distilled down to the thing that I really like in Parks. And that's it. And it's a way smaller package. So I like Trails, and I will always basically just play Trails.
Yeah, I think it creates the whole fun kind of leapfrogging onto spaces to collect resources from Parks is there. A couple things I like better about Trails are you're kind of just going back and forth from end to end on this trail. Then as the game progresses, it sort of ramps up because the various spaces that make up the trail will start to flip over to their kind of nighttime side, where they are generally more powerful.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that kind of ramping aspect that sort of times out the game as well. I think it's a really cool thing that they do that feels different than Parks, and that Parks has a very clear round structure where everyone's going to go through the trail, getting to the end, visiting parks and stuff, and then we set up for the next round, and so forth. And I like that Trails is just a little bit more kind of free-flowy and stuff as you play. But again, keeps the heart, which is that pathway that you're kind of traversing, very much intact.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like a little bit more dynamic because it doesn't have that set round structure. Also, these things flip over and kind of get better and stuff like that. I think it's a really neat one.
I feel like most people agree with this one, and this is going to be Fleet, the dice game, which is overtaking just Fleet, or which is a card game. They ultimately play very similarly, where you have various fishing boats, and you are getting various fishing licenses, and you're just out there fishing, trying to gain fish, score points that way. Fleet, the dice game is just a really great version. This is, real talk, is Fleet the Dice game is so successful that there's now been a bunch of games that are like 80% the same as Fleet the Dice game, and that is like...
There's been a line, like Three Sisters, Motor City, French Quarter.
They're all very similar, but they started with Fleet the Dice game.
There's variations, but you're ultimately drafting dice.
Yes. Super combo heavy.
Super combo heavy and big for a roll and write game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's like what really drew us to Fleet the Dice game was... we played it for the first time a long time ago, 2019, I think it was.
Yeah.
And just the size of that roll and write in terms of like you have two sheets, You're crossing stuff together, crossing stuff off and comboing into this thing. You can get these buildings or these boats, these licenses, all sorts of stuff. It was the first time we'd seen kind of like a roll and write on that scale.
Yeah.
And I thought it was super duper cool the ways you can kind of maximize. People know we're fans of combo wombos out here.
Love a wombo combo.
And this one just like really does it up to the max. And again, it sprung kind of like this series now of these beefier roll and write experiences. And I think it's just one that like, for me, I'm like, we started with Fleet the Dice game, and I'm like, this is already perfect. I don't need to do a different version of this. Like, to me, it is the definitive one because it was the first one we played.
And I think most people agree. I mean, I think most people like Fleet the Dice game more. A lot of people don't even know that there was a Fleet game, Exactly.
Certainly when I played Fleet the Dice game, I did not know about Fleet at all.
Yeah, so it's really, really good. If you like combo wombos, check it out. Check out Three Sisters, Motor City, French Quarter. They all have that kind of similarness going on, and they're very good. This is an interesting one because this was kind of like a COVID project.
It was.
That turned into a full game. And this is the Isle of Cats Explore and Draw, which is kind of like the roll and write version of Isle of Cats.
It started off as a print and play edition that you could use components from Isle of Cats to play this game as a kind of draft and write, where you're drafting these cards, I think either a row or a column of these cards. And you are then using different color markers to fill in for the various colors of cats, and you're filling in your boat. And we played this during COVID because we have Isle of Cats, and we really liked the things that it kept from base Isle of Cats, but it obviously put more of the focus onto just filling your boat, which you can do in Isle of Cats with the family mode.
Yes.
But that was always our favorite thing, is just trying to fill in your boat as efficiently as possible. The polyomino puzzle was our favorite bit. And the Explore and Draw is really focused on that in a big bad way, whereas the full game of Isle of Cats has other various things you're kind of managing.
I mean, talk about smaller versions that are better. I think the family version of Isle of Cats is the better game than like the actual game Isle of Cats.
The solo mode's the best version of that game.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things like Isle of Cats, actually I think, and again, I still like Isle of Cats, the big normal version, but like every other version of Isle of Cats, I like pretty significantly more than base Isle of Cats. I think Isle of Cats has kind of too much going for it. And so the family version, or especially the Explore and Draw, kind of distills it down to those things that I really, really want out of this, which is just like filling up your boat, kind of interesting drafting. It's just, I really, really like it. I thought it was a really cool kind of print and play COVID project that they were like, oh, this is really successful and people really like this. Let's make this like an official game. And yeah, we got it. We love it. And I think it's honestly better than the original. Now, to be fair, some of these is because we didn't really like the original that much. And this would be Splendor Duel.
Yeah, which I do genuinely like a lot.
Yes. Neither of us would be a huge fan of Splendor.
No.
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. The engine building you do in Splendor, for whatever reason, just doesn't catch me. There's other games that do something similar at a similar weight range that I do like. I don't know what it is about Splendor. I just don't like it.
For me, Splendor always comes down to the action types and like how many chips you can take, and it feels arbitrary.
Yeah.
And granted, all rules are arbitrary,
all
essentially.
games are arbitrary, yeah.
But it's hard for it to stick in my brain. So we're not huge fans of Splendor. But Splendor Duel I really like because I do enjoy the engine building of Splendor. I like that I'm now producing these permanent jewels so I can get these higher level cards and that kind of race to do it. And Splendor Duel does a couple things that really change the game for me. Number one, the way you draft your gem tokens is now put onto this board, and it's more spatial. You can take things from a straight line, either horizontal, vertical, or diagonal. You can take up to 3 gems. If I want to take a gold and reserve a card, I can still do that, but still on that central board, the board will kind of deplete and then refill at certain points throughout the game. I just enjoy the tactical nature of like, I got these 3 in a row, these 3 red in a row. Oh my gosh, I need all this red. Now, if I take 3 of the same color, I have to give you a privilege, which is something you can use on your turn to kind of get a free gem and stuff like that. But I enjoy the board situation, the spatial kind of puzzle of grabbing your gems just a lot more because it feels more tactical. It makes more sense to me versus just like, you can take 2 if it's the same color, or 3, or like, I don't know. And I enjoy that. And then it also gives you kind of multiple ways you can win, where I think if you get 20 points worth of cards across your whole situation, you win. If you get 10 points of the same color, you win.
Yeah.
Or there's these kind of like royal crown symbols. I think it's 10 of those or something.
Yeah.
You can win. So I enjoy the fact that I'm like paying attention, like, man, you got a lot of blue, dude.
Yeah.
I got to not let you get all these blue cards because you can quickly race to the end, but I have the overall score better.
Yeah.
And I enjoy those kinds of things in the way they kind of make it a little heads up.
Yeah, I agree. The multiple paths to victory I really, really like, especially in duel games in general. When you kind of like have to be watching out for people doing multiple different things is very fun. Yeah, I really like Splendor Duel. Again, I was never a massive fan of Splendor. Splendor Duel is, in my opinion, just more fun. And so it's on this list because I like it more. Now you can shame us in the comments if you want. We've actually never played the base game of this.
No need, Nick. No
but
need.
To be fair, I don't think anyone really wants to. And this is going to be Long Shot the Dice Game.
It's amazing.
Long Shot the Dice Game is so much fun. And there's a game called Long Shot, which is about horse racing, so is Long Shot the Dice Game.
Sure.
I don't know anyone who plays the original. If you have played the original, let us know how it is. So this is also one of these, but from what I do know at the original, is that it's similar, you're racing horses and all kind of stuff, but it just seems like the dice game is better in every way, and the fact that the dice game has been very, very popular makes me feel comfortable putting on this list because I just think it's going to be better.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Long Shot the Dice Game, you are betting on horses. Basically, there is going to be 2 dice rolled. One is going to dictate which horse moves 1 through 8. There are 8 horses in the game. And then the other die is going to dictate how far they move. And then there are a whole bunch of different stuff. It's a kind of simultaneous roll and write where, again, the dice are rolled kind of by the active player. But then everyone else is kind of writing on their things and kind of
taking action based on that dice
based
roll.
on that dice roll. There's a whole bunch of 8s on here. So you roll the 8 horse, they'll move, and then you can do some stuff. You can then bet on various horses. You can actually purchase the horses so that you will score points if they
place or win.
in things.
Yep.
You're getting like jerseys, you're getting jockeys, you're doing all this different kind of stuff based off of what is rolled. But you also are paying attention to the race because you are actively betting on the races. And it's one of those things where it's like the 8 is it's a long shot, right? Like it's not going to come up very often because also all of the horses have other numbers on them. So when the 6 goes, maybe the 5 and the 3 will also get to move. So it's this thing, and I feel like a lot of times in this, there's always the long shot, and they will like start moving.
Because you could just keep rolling 8 over and over.
It can happen.
It's not a guarantee that they don't win.
It's really, really fun. It's got a great little production to it. It's just an absolute blast. I really love this game, and everyone we've introduced to has also really, really loved it.
Yeah.
And the base game, I'm sure exists, and I'm sure is also fun, but I just really want to play this one.
Oh, it's a good day for a good battle here, and it's beautiful. I remember the name of Clan Corgis. Today's battle shall be known as a Clash of Corgis.
Cut. What are you doing?
Oh, well, I saw the script for Clash of Corgis, and I figured I'd do some dramaturgy, and I kind of came up with like a whole clan background and family history, and so...
This game is like a card game. It's a shedding game about corgis.
Corgis.
Corgi, like the dog with like with the dump trucks.
Sure.
Like those
Red
dogs.
Dog.
Yeah.
So there's not like fighting and stuff in it?
No, there's a treasure island mode where there is a little bit of fighting, and some of the are dressed up like war. You know what? No.
I feel like I know what I'm doing.
I feel like you know what you're doing. You're Pop Off King. You do you.
Hey, real quick, I just request that you fix this horse in post. You're going to do that, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Action.
Well, that young actor certainly is going places. This is Clash of Corgis. This is a second edition of this card game that has made vast improvements from the first edition and has 3 unique ways to play in it. In the original mode, you are playing a card shedding game. You're going to be playing combos of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of the same value of card. And these different suits and stuff will often give you the ability to augment a power that you choose based on the value of that card. So you might be able to draw a card, shed cards, attack other players, and do things all in the hopes of getting rid of your hand of cards first. You can play multiple rounds with this, with the winner of the previous round taking on the next one. But there's also 2 other different ways to play in this very same box using the very same cards. In the Treasure Island mode, you're going to be drawing a hand of cards and playing them down as these kind of combatants as you go against cards drawn from the deck and trying to collect those cards in the form of loot and getting to 10 loot first. Those have different powers and things that they use based on the value of the cards that you have been playing. And in the third version, a 2-player specific mode, this is a memory and deduction version of the game called Capture the Illusionist. The Illusionist is a wild card, and you're going to have a tableau of cards face down on the table, and you're going to be revealing and exposing certain cards all in the hope of capturing your opponent's illusionist, before they capture yours. So you're gonna have to remember what things you've seen, where things might be, and more, all in this tiny little box. If you wanna go check out some cute Corgi action, do follow the links in the description of this video and pick you up some Clash of Corgis today. And thanks you to Clash of Corgis for being a sponsor.
Next up is going to be a game that honestly we haven't played recently and need to change that, but we really enjoyed what it did, especially because its parent game has just a lot.
Yeah.
This is going to be Duelosaur Island, which is based on Dinosaur Island, which is basically based on Jurassic Park, but is legally distinct from that.
Distinct, yes.
And Duelosaur Island, legally distinct from Dinosaur Island, is a 2-player or solo. I split you choose version of Dinosaur Island, where you are still gaining DNA, creating dinosaurs, putting attractions and concessions and stuff into your park. But everything with Dinosaur Island, which just has big board after big board after big board, with big player board, everything is pared down to a reasonably sized player board and cards. You can get specialists and stuff. All of the DNA literally from Dinosaur Island is present in the 2-player kind of card version. And it creates like an interesting I split you choose, because the cards are, I think, usually split down the middle. The top will be a dinosaur, the bottom will be some sort of attraction or something in your park. So you're making all sorts of cool decisions about, like, how do I want to use this card? We love multi-use cards. There's specialists you can get in the base game of Dinosaur Island, but in Duelosaur Island, they're very much more central, and they give you game-breaking rules and abilities and stuff like that, and I love that they are really going to impact your game for sure. And it just does a lot of cool things, but it's not super long. No. It's so much easier to set up and play.
Almost too short. Like there are...
And you can choose different lengths of the game.
Yeah, there's different lengths of the game. There's like short, medium, and long. It's like we always play the long one, and even that feels very short. Yeah. So it's kind of wild.
The game has a real, for sure, like ramp up with the points you score each round, so long is the way to go.
It's still great. It's still got that same great Quanchai Moria art. Again, you have these DNA dice, and then those cards, and again, you're splitting them and then choosing them. It's just
drafting various elements.
Yeah, it's just really, really good. And every card is dual use, because you can either keep it for the dinosaur and then try to make that dinosaur again with your DNA, or you can put attractions for a lot of the attractions. There's like various set collection stuff going on down there. Yeah, and also shouts out to the Dinosaur Island Roarin' Right, which is also, in my opinion, better than the original games, because that one's kind of like a greatest hits of all of these things. But the Duelosaur Island one doesn't get that much love. I mean, it got love when it first came out, but I feel like it's kind of gotten overshadowed by a lot of
compared to a lot of other stuff, I think.
But it's like, it's just really, really good. It's a great 2-player version of Dinosaur Island, again, because it has all the elements that you like, but it's just streamlined. It's much, much, much smaller.
Case in point, you can fit the Duelosaur Island and the Dinosaur Island Roarin' Right in the same box, which is what we did. And you should too.
Yeah, and they're both in the same box, which is great. So yeah, both of those games are outstanding. They both are better than their big brother and big sister. And so check them out. They're really, really great. This was also kind of a weird one but it is way smaller, and this is going to be Jaws of the Lion.
Fight me! Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Infinitely easier to play.
Here's the thing. I will say this right now. We have purchased this game, and I have not played it, but I'm also going to go ahead and say that Buttons and Bugs probably could have been... That's literally the small version of this game.
That's a real baby version.
Yeah. But that's Jaws of the Lion. You can play along with Gloomhaven, but nonetheless, it is a much smaller version. It is sold as a smaller version of the game. Originally was like a Target exclusive kind of thing, but this is still Gloomhaven. One thing that's massively different about this game, and one of the reasons why it is so much smaller, is because all the scenarios that you would have in Gloomhaven are in a spiral-bound book.
And that is the deciding factor for why we like this better.
Yes, it really is. Because other than that, it's still Gloomhaven. There are certain things I feel like that are cleaned up a little bit, but like it's a little bit simpler. The characters are still really, really good. You are still building your characters and getting more powerful and stronger as you go.
Fully cross-compatible with Gloomhaven if you want to.
I can't remember if there's retirement in the game. I feel like you don't have time to retire, but correct us if we're wrong about that. But nonetheless, it's like 25 scenarios, but again, they're all in that spiral-bound book. There's still some branching of paths that you can go, but it is definitely a smaller version, a great way to get into Gloomhaven if you want to. But nonetheless, I really love Jaws Lion. I played all the way through it, and I really, really enjoyed it. The characters were great, but the fact that it was smaller, it was more contained, and the fact that there was that spiral-bound book, I understand it'd be very, very hard to do that for all of Gloomhaven or Frosthaven. but
Find a way!
Daddy, give it to me, because it made the game infinitely more playable, because that's one of the biggest things, is like setting up each dungeon or whatever is kind of a pain.
It's so much easier to flip a book and maybe put a couple tiles down and you're playing.
It's
like,
just there. It's so useful. I thought it was a brilliant idea.
Also, Jaws of the Lion has a fantastic tutorial system where basically the first 5 scenarios are really kind of getting you into learning how Gloomhaven works in terms of the card play, character building, all those kinds of things. And I think it's really fantastic because something like a Gloomhaven Frosthaven would be daunting to a new player. Yeah. But having a smaller box and also a kind of holding your hand to varying degrees as you get up and running is a really cool thing for getting people into this larger world to then dive into the bigger games and stuff and maybe use those characters and stuff like that. So it's such a... I would never suggest anyone start anywhere in this universe other than Jaws of the Lion.
Yeah. Number 3 is no surprise if you've heard us talk about it since it came out, and this is going to be Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition.
Fight us in the chat, people! It's so much better.
People think we are very wrong about this, but we have not been shy about how we like this version way better than the original version. And
we still love Terraforming Mars, but Ares Expedition's
it's still
definitely the way to go.
It's just very, very good. Ares Expedition is a smaller version of Terraforming Mars, which is a big engine builder game where you are getting these various cards. They have tags on them. A lot of other cards will require those tags, all that kind of stuff. Good engine builder stuff. But Terraforming Mars, the main one, also has like a board in the middle of Mars. There's like a little bit of area control where you're putting out various tiles on this board. There are like these milestones and these awards that you can kind of like fight for and race for, all these different kinds of stuff. Terraforming Mars gets rid of pretty much all that except for the card play. There is a little bit of a board, but there's no like player pieces out on the board. It's just like kind of a way to get other resources.
Yeah, you can track your score and Terraform rating, but mostly... That's it.
Exactly, because it's basically one of the end game conditions is to have oceans and stuff like that. So it's like, basically what it comes down to is just the cards. They do add in one thing, and that is a following mechanic, where instead of on your turn in Terraforming Mars, you just get 2 actions, and it'll go to the next person. You just keep going around and around until everyone passes. In this one, everyone is choosing one of the 5 phases that they would like to make sure happens, and then everyone reveals what phases they chose, and then those phases are what happens. So all 5 will not happen in a round. And then if you're the one who chose the phase, you will get a bonus, but then everyone else still gets to do the thing correlated with that phase. So one of them is like play production cards, which is the green cards. So if you're the one who chooses it, you get to play it for like $3 less or whatever it is, something like that.
Discount,
So it's just really, really great. I love games with follow mechanics. So it took everything I loved in Terraforming Mars, took out everything I didn't love or didn't care about, and then added in something I really enjoy, and that's why it's better for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. For me, it comes down to the fact that the rounds are more dynamic because they're not always the same. Mm-hmm. The cadence of Terraforming Mars is very steady, very similar. You're going to do each of your 2 actions, going around and around until everybody passes, then we produce, and then we move on to the next round, getting new cards and stuff like that. And here, every round, the phases are going to happen. You're not going to produce every round. You will produce if someone chooses the production phase. And I think that's really neat, the fact that, like, you know, you're kind of doing the mind games of which actions are going to happen, and the fact that, you know, things change kind of from round to round in the way that you do stuff, the ways you can kind of build little engines with like drawing cards or the research action. You're still producing resources and stuff, and it just, it keeps a lot of the great stuff there, but just the fact that the rounds do not play out exactly the same every time just keeps me more engaged, I guess. You know what I mean?
Number 2 is, I'm kind of surprised at how much we really like this one. This is going to be Pirates of Maracaibo. I figured we would enjoy it, but like after one play, I was being like, cool, never need to play Maracaibo again. Because it kind of does a similar thing to Ares Expedition in Terraforming Mars, where it's like, it kept the stuff that I like, which was like, I did like moving like your boat around and stuff like that, and it kept the card play, and that's mostly it. And I'm like, wow, this is way better. You've been playing a ton of Pirates of Maracaibo.
Yeah, it's on Board Game Arena, and I do play a lot of it. Now, like you just said, we like the card play from Maracaibo. There's, kind of multi-use cards where you can use them as a resource. Now that part is gone from here, but you have the ability to play cards that give you these kind of red banners, which are going to be, perpetual discounts on future card purchases. Maybe if I'm going raiding and I'm going for the pearls, the white die, I get a +2 to my rating value with that. So you can kind of build up your little engine with your tableau of cards. And there's these various islands to stop off at to, move your explorer around, which is from Maracaibo, and I think a part that I never gave enough love to. You can, stop off and do a raiding action. You're rolling these dice and you're stealing treasure and stuff because we are pirates after all.
Pirates, indeed.
And things like that. So it keeps that card play and the ability to kind of build a little engine for yourself very much present. Now we have a tableau of cards to kind of move our ships through to, and wherever you stop your ship is what card you're interacting with. And then that changes, so now a new card will swap in a lot of the times and changes what's available.
The route changes. It's cool.
Yeah, and so it's just really fun. Like I really enjoyed the look of it. I think it's kind of cool. It's 3 rounds. It doesn't take too much time. It'll be an hour or less probably. And you get to have a lot of the fun that you had with Maracaibo. And I didn't particularly care about what's France doing in this area. I don't know, exploiting the people, we know that much.
Probably, yeah.
And it wasn't that interesting to me. So the fact that you're kind of more pirates and stuff and you're just going around and getting treasure and stuff was very cool, but all of the kind of best bits of Maracaibo, which is a great game, was kind of maintained.
Yeah. My number 1 again is, I'm sure some people feel differently, but it probably isn't that surprising. This is going to be Seven Wonders Duel, and I guess now the Lord of the Rings Seven Wonders Duel, the Duel from Middle-earth.
That's not based on anything necessarily, but it counts.
But Seven Wonders Duel is also one of those it's interesting because Seven Wonders Duel is also one of those smaller games that's actually significantly heavier than it's
definitely more tactical.
Bigger brother or sister.
Yeah, I think there's more strategy to employ.
But this is, kind of like the classic example of the smaller version of the game or the 2-player version of the game or roll and write version of the game, whatever. Yeah. That is better than the original. I know there's a lot of Seven Wonders stands out there. Yeah. Y'all live your truth, and that's great.
Both versions of this game, Seven Wonders Duel, have both been insanely successful.
Yes,
insanely successful. Safe to say.
But Seven Wonders Duel is the top 20 on B2G. I mean, it's just great. So it's the same Seven Wonders stuff where you're building wonders, where you are gaining an engine building game.
You're civ building.
Yeah, you're getting various resources like bricks and stuff, but they are ongoing resources. You're not really spending these things.
It's your ability to produce those things.
Yes, exactly. And you're working up this cool card pyramid, and there's a lot of tactical strategy of trying to not reveal cards for your opponent and just give them stuff. There are multiple paths to victory, which is really, really cool. There's just so much stuff you have to pay attention to, so much stuff that you have to worry about with what your opponent's doing. You're like, oh my gosh, Mike's getting close to a science victory. I've got to make sure he does not get this card because that'll give him the win. It's really, really great. And again, I've been kind of up and down with Seven Wonders Duel, but overall, I fully acknowledge that it's a really wonderful game that I do enjoy more than I think I do, and I especially the Lord of the Rings one. But it's just great. And I think this is kind of the poster child for these kinds of games, yeah?
Absolutely. It's definitely what made us think about this particular topic. It's the genesis of that. You're like, Seven Wonders Duel, it definitely counts for 2-player games. And it's done a lot to, I think, help create other games that would fit into these genres. So you kind of got to give it up to Seven Wonders Duel for that reason alone. And just the simple fact that it gives you a really cool, juicy puzzle to work on that is still card drafting, but in a fundamentally different way, I think is really neat. Now with the Lord of the Rings theming, you have that same DNA with maybe people don't care about the civ building, which is obviously fairly abstract in Seven Wonders Duel. And now you can have it set in a world that is really familiar and beloved and stuff. And so for us, if we're playing this game moving forward, it probably will be Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth. But, effectively the same game. It is very similar. And it's just really great. So, sometimes when you're a trendsetter, you got to get the love and get the #1 spot.
Yeah,
and that's why it has today.
Indeed. It was...
and we really like it, so that also helps.
Yeah, it does help. But nonetheless, that is 10 games that we think that are smaller versions that do it better. The dual version, the roll around version and stuff, there's a whole ton of these. Again, it's very... Again, it makes sense, right? You make a sequel to a movie because there's already the built-in love for the original.
Sure.
It's kind of similar like this. They make smaller versions of games because they know there's going to sell a certain amount of units just because people like the original Seven Wonders or whatever, right?
There you go.
So it makes sense why publishers do these, but they're not always the best. Again, over on our Patreon, we'll have a different list. That's kind of the other side of this coin.
But there
are also some that are really actively great. Not only great, but even fully replace the original game. Again, for me, I never need to play Maracaibo again. I'll just play Pirates of Maracaibo because I just like it a lot more.
Sure.
So it's they can really even be better because sometimes you're like, this should have been smaller. This should have been this size to begin with, right?
At least per our taste, and all this stuff is subjective, in fact. So in the comments, speaking of subjectivity, let us know your favorites that kind of fit this category, that are kind of like a smaller version of what you consider like a parent game. What are some of your favorites to play that maybe you even prefer to play that smaller version of the game? I think there's a lot of really cool ones out there. And get those in the comments below. And a big shout out to Clash of Corgis again. Check out information in the description of this video for them. We appreciate them sponsoring this top 10, and we'll see y'all in the next top 10, I guess.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much for watching that top 10. Let us know your favorite small games that do it better. Big shout out to Clash of Corgis for sponsoring this one. And a big shout out to our April sponsor, Board Games Anonymous. If you've got a problem with board games, man, you got to talk to people who are like you. Check out Board Games Anonymous. Thank you so much, Board Games Anonymous, for sponsoring.